Madam Chair, you do have a quorum, so you are free to start the meeting if you wish.
Okay, hello everyone. We are calling to order the meeting of the EPC Thursday, January 20th. And we can proceed with the roll call.
Okay, Member Holland?
Here.
Member Lowe?
Yes, here.
Chair Khan?
Here.
And Vice Chair Carrico is absent at present. She may join the meeting later, as well as Council Member Liaison Hawkins-Manwellian. And we have from staff, myself, City Manager Rodericks, and Sustainability Coordinator Kim, and then our intern, Jackie Nasiri. Do you have a quorum?
Great.
Next item on your agenda is public comments.
Yes, are there any public comments?
Or public.
Or people in the public attending?
I don't see any, so you can move on from there to the meeting minutes for November 18th, 2021 meeting.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the November 18th, 2021 meeting?
I make the motion.
Second.
Or you have a first and a second. I'll do the verbal roll call. That's Member Holland Miles.
Yep.
Member Lowe.
Yep.
And Chair Khan.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next is committee and staff reports and comments. An update on the leaf blower ordinance. I'm going to stop this share and go to another share of the town's website. On the town's homepage, there is a proposed leaf blower and garden equipment changes that came out of the subcommittee from the city council. And so people in the public can click on that. It'll take them to a summary of the proposed changes, which are basically gas-powered equipment is limited Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, not on the weekends. Electrical powered garden equipment can be used on Saturdays and Sundays during certain hours. Spare the air days above 100, where the AQI is above 100, gas-powered equipment is prohibited. Two-stroke gas-powered leaf blowers would be prohibited after January 1, 2023. And these restrictions would apply to all properties in town: residential, educational, open space, and government. And there's a draft ordinance that's going to be making its way to the city council on February 16th for consideration. And then we set up a basic poll to ask respondents what they think about that. And so they, whoops, that didn't go where I wanted it to go. Visit the poll where it asks whether they support or oppose it. And then if they have any additional comments, they'll email them to Anthony or I. We have received probably 10 to 12 comments from residents. Most of those comments have been asking us to go further and ban gas-powered leaf blowers specifically altogether. This addresses gas-powered garden equipment. So it's, in addition to leaf blowers, it's also hedge trimmers and other gas-powered equipment that might be used. But most of the comments were ban the gas-powered leaf blowers altogether, with not a whole lot on other garden equipment.
George, I have a question about this. I remember when we did the study over at Holbert Palmer Park, and I wasn't at the city council meeting or later meetings where they eventually came up with this revised plan. How did we lose the ability or lose the sort of option to ban gas-powered leaf blowers during the week? It seems so watered down. I don't, it's disappointing.
Yeah, so this was Councilmember Hawkins-Manwellian and Councilmember Widmer who started to revise this quite a bit. And that was one of the items after the pilot project at the park. Mm-hmm. What came out of that was, hey, we need gas-powered equipment to operate on soft surfaces, softscape at the park, not the hardscape, but the softscape, particularly during the rainy season, which is October through March, because electric leaf blowers just don't cut it on those types of surfaces. And if we're going to do that in the park, the educational and circus club and middle school, middle college may need the same thing based on their types of property and types of activity. So the idea was to just
This is whom?
allow it to occur.
This is Clarissa.
Sorry,
Allow
Greg.
it to occur on those sites October through March. So that's the way it was progressing. And then when the subcommittee had some further conversation, they came up with this exception to allow gas powered equipment Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So I told them, if that's what you're going to do, then we don't need the exemption October through March, because you can operate Monday through Friday with gas powered equipment and just ban it on the weekends. But that's kind of how they ended up with it. I mean, it may change when it gets to the council meeting, and based on some of the poll feedback that we're getting, to just ban gas powered leaf blowers Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. But at this point, that's what they came up with.
Okay. So we're allowed to respond to this and comment, right? Even though we're on the EPC.
Yeah.
Because I've had an electric blower on my property, which is, an acre, for years, and it's no problem. It just feels like this really isn't a ban. I mean, most people don't have gardening done on the weekends anyway. Maybe people who are, doing it themselves, but I'm assuming people in Portola Valley who also have really big properties are getting by because they had gas powered blowers banned there.
Yeah, well, the issue for at least the governmental and educational and like the Circus Club and others is there's a little bit of liability associated with not keeping sidewalks and walkways in areas.
Oh, sure. No, I get that. And it seems like there could be a carve out for those places that have a bigger area to maintain, but
yeah.
I don't know. That's just my personal feeling.
Well, I would certainly encourage you as at least the chair
Right.
to come to the February 16th meeting and provide feedback and comment with respect to what the EPC's thoughts are.
I mean, do other people on the committee feel the same way?
Yeah. I mean, could the EPC comment as like?
That's what the chair would be doing. Yeah.
Well, that's my personal feeling. I'm not sure if I'm speaking for everyone on the committee.
Yeah, if you came to the meeting as individuals, you couldn't say, I'm on the Environmental Programs Committee, and this is what I think. You could say, hey, I'm so-and-so from the town, I live at such and such address, and this is what I think. But if there's going to be a comment from the committee, there needs to be one individual from the committee as the spokesperson to make those comments at the council meeting.
Okay. Well, is this the right time to take a vote to see if people would like me to speak for the EPC or to just speak for Emily Kahn?
I move that you speak for the EPC on leaf blowers at the next meeting. I think you could second yourself.
You're muted, Greg.
Can I second myself?
So.
Greg, I think Greg's trying to second that.
Okay.
He's just muted.
Okay. Thank you. Will do.
There you are. You're unmuted now.
Okay, same for me.
Okay.
Speak for the EPC.
Thank you,
Gregory.
Gregory.
Right,
okay, I will.
Screen share and go back to my notes. Which I didn't share. Am I not sharing it? I'm not sharing it. Sorry. So next is an update on the sustainability website revisions. And Anthony told me that these should be up and running by the time the Athertonian special edition goes out, but they are still in progress, and he's trying to incorporate some of the changes the EPC subcommittee's been giving him and get that to the webmaster side of things and get that up and running, but he hasn't got that done yet. He's still working on it.
Yeah, he sent me a note this morning saying that he wanted to meet with Emily and I sometime in next week so he could show us the preview. Did he email you too, Emily, or? Cool. Yeah, so the three of us can connect and try and set up something so we can peer over his shoulder or do a Zoom where he does a shared screen.
Right.
So he can show us the draft. So.
All right, that was item 4. Item 5 is your Earth Day discussion, and I believe Stacy has a PowerPoint for that. Let me stop here.
One thing, one of our other subcommittees is REACH codes, and I just wanted to flag for the rest of you that I think it's on the February agenda to have the REACH code discussion with city council.
So let me look at my agenda, look ahead. I think that's where the building official, he's been out of the office quite a bit lately.
Yeah.
With some personal issues going on, but
I asked Anthony yesterday, that's what he said.
yep, February 16th.
Yeah.
Same meeting.
So yeah, so Emily, you're already going to be at that meeting, but that hopefully, I mean, potentially we should all be there to lend support or provide voice on the REACH code. And I think I'm still the subcommittee on that, so I could speak on behalf of the EPC at that meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe the current state of affairs, and Doug, you may have been more involved in this than me, is it's an all electric code recommendation with specific exceptions to that.
Do we know what the exceptions are going to be?
I think they're related to gas cooktops or pool equipment, pool heaters, and some things like that. And then it's all electric with new construction.
Okay, so it's new construction and remodels? And
remodels, yeah. That's all right. So I think it's going. Doug, do you have any other memory of that?
Yeah, that is right, George. I think it's also important in the conversation to mention that regardless of what the town does, the California Energy Code starting next year, January of 2023, all but call for electrification of new homes. Now, that's different than minor remodels and things like that, but the state is pretty much requiring heat pumps next year. They already require solar on new homes, and they're pretty much requiring that all new homes and major additions be plumbed for electrified homes. So that kind of context might help in the conversation about REACH codes.
And I think they're also talking about expanding the number of required EV charging items within new construction as well. So
then for REACH codes in general, I know this code will expire at the end of the year or next year, and then we'll do it again. We'll do another REACH code cycle in 2022, and that'll last 3 years, right?
The Uniform Building Code is due to be updated January 2023 as a new adoption of that code, I believe. And so what we're trying to do is make sure that we're not going to confuse builders out there so that they're working from two sets of guidance, right? So that whatever we adopt now is where things are going to be going in January 2023, not we're going to adopt this now and then what happens in January 23 is totally different. So we want to make sure there's some
so this is essentially going to be like hopefully a 4-year REACH code. Yeah,
whatever applies this now once adopted, and then January 2023 forward for the next 3 years.
Okay.
I have a question about this, George. What is the estimate for everything being electrical retrofitted for everybody, like I did at my house? What is the date for that? Because if we stretch this out too much, as you know, the majority of the homes right now are the ones that already exist, and the ones that are going to be added is a minority. So do you have an estimate?
Well, it's also for renovations.
Yeah, right? It's renovations and new construction. So whatever track that takes in town, we're not going to force you as a homeowner to retrofit your current home.
Ever. You're never going to do that.
No, but there may come a day, much like a leaf blower day, where you can't buy certain types of appliances unless they're sustainable or electric, but we're not going to force that on you as a current homeowner.
Mm-hmm. But that means in practice that the majority, well, I don't know if it's the majority, but that's really what I'm trying to estimate, of the homes in Atherton are still going to be partially on gas.
Yes.
That's not really very good.
Doug, do you have anything you want to add to that?
That is correct. So one sort of data point here, building and safety issues about 900 building permits a year. Now, a lot of those are for very minor kinds of permits. But you're right, Greg. the majority of homes that don't have major remodels and so forth are largely still operating on natural gas. And that's why, you know, in our conversation last meeting, a big focus of our sustainability program is to get homeowners to voluntarily retrofit their natural gas appliances, their dryers, their stoves to electricity, and taking advantage of a lot of the rebates that are out there. But that's one of the big challenges of the overall climate action plan, is getting voluntary turnover.
Okay. How successful do you think this voluntary system will be?
Well, I think I'll be giving EPC an overview of our outreach program. We're going to be reaching out to architects, contractors, a lot of outreach to homeowners, talking about the benefits, both environmentally and financially, of switching over to electrical infrastructure. We're also having conversations within City Hall about changing some of the permit fees that are charged to homeowners to try to incentivize that kind of turnover. So again, as George said, it's all voluntary, but we're looking to sweeten the pot to get earlier turnover for homes that are just about ready to update their natural gas appliances.
Yeah, right. And as well as solar panels to add to that.
Right.
Has there been any discussion about, I know some other towns are thinking about doing a replace on burnout policy. So like if your water heater dies, you have to replace it with electric. Is that something we could do with reach codes, or is that?
I suspect it could be done with reach codes. I'm not sure that's where the council's going. I think it's new construction, definitely all new ADUs. And I've got the stats on the screen there that show, you know, each month we produce a report for the city council at a city council meeting talking about construction and permit activity. And you can see new accessory structure permits on average about 15 or to 20 or so per month. And so for the year, there's over 209 new accessory dwelling units. And so for every new unit that's constructed, it's got to be all electric. And then new single family residential permits, 23 and 28 in the current fiscal year. So that's, and any new single family residence, that has to be also electric. There is turnover. It's slow turnover, but there is turnover. And most of those new single family residential permits are demolition of old buildings and building new ones, whether they're from 1970 construction demolition or 2005 or 2010 a demolition of a brand nice new structure and building a new home. A lot of that does occur in town as well. And then any addition or alteration permits, the same thing. If it involves a water heater, a new garage, new appliances, things like that, those would be required to be electric. So it's a gradual thing.
I know that, Doug, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the Bay Area Air Quality Board is considering some kind of regulation around appliances this year, I think, because of all the nitrogen or something, nitrous oxide that's released by natural gas inside the home. I heard something they're going to do some kind of regulations that might all but ban gas appliances in the Bay Area.
I'm not aware, Stacy, of the Air District doing that.
I heard it was a topic in their next big board meeting, potentially.
Yeah, I can look into that.
Maybe I'm crazy.
We can certainly look into that and see what's happening there. All right, any other questions on that item? If not, I think we're on to item 5, and I think you're welcome to share your screen, Stacey.
Okay, guys, buckle up. It's Earth Day time. Share my screen. Okay, everyone see this?
Yes.
Well, all right, so Earth Day. This is a lot of this deck, just so you guys know, I think is more for us to put on the internet so that there's public record of this kind of stuff. So I'm going to skip this slide. We all know what Earth Day is. So Earth Day, we're going to do, the plan right now is to have kind of two different tracks. One is the special issue of the Athertonian, which we're going to do. So we're going to do a 5th special edition of the Athertonian, which will be entirely focused on Earth Day, green, sustainability issues. And then the other one is in-person events, hopefully all outdoors. So what we've tentatively planned right now is to have Friday, we'll have green tours available of our new town center, and the library should hopefully be open by then. Then Saturday, do an outdoor vendor fair at Holbrook Palmer Park and have some potential speaker events tied to that, and maybe an outdoor movie screening potentially. Then on Sunday, do a community service event where we would do a park cleanup. They need to do like a bunch of weeding, and there's not a lot of litter in the park, but I'm sure we'll find some. So that's kind of the track. Right now, I will go into more detail on all of these. So the Friday event, one of the things that I'm trying to do is get a high profile speaker to come out in support of induction cooking and talk more broadly about food sustainability and buying local and kind of the role of the kitchen in terms of being green. I'm targeting some pretty high profile people. I don't know that I'll get them, but I am talking to Alice Waters' PR person right now. Chez Panisse, she has I'm told has an all electric kitchen at Chez Panisse. So I'm hoping we could have maybe her or someone from Chez Panisse come and talk about that induction cooking is actually better. I have a friend in common with Aisha Curry, Steph Curry's wife, famous restaurateur, also an Atherton resident. She hasn't come out that strongly about green cooking stuff, but her whole foundation is about kids and healthy eating, and having an induction stove is really bad for kid lungs. So I'm thinking it's not a total stretch. So I've put out an invite there. Nothing is finalized, but that's kind of what I'm pie in the sky reaching for on that. So that could happen. I'm basically like, you tell me when you can come. Either it'd be Friday or Saturday. And right now I have the, it's the Carriage House, I think, or whatever the house is in Holbrook Palmer Park is reserved for both days for that. So that could happen either day. Then on Friday, the main thing would be making tours available to residents if they're really interested in seeing all the green features in our new buildings. And I'm not sure, I know there's going to be a spring grand opening event of the new town center and library. So it's possible the tours will have just been available to the residents like recently. So we might scrap this whole thing, but that's kind of what I have cooking. Some potential additions for Friday and the weekend in general is if we wanted to do something with local schools, to have them do some kind of an art thing and display it in town center. I'd asked Anthony what the rules would be with our precious new town center walls, if we're allowed to like hang things on the walls, or I'm sure not nails, but stick things up, whatever, what those rules would be. Yeah. If we wanted to do that, I've done absolutely no outreach for that. So that could be a potential subcommittee for if someone wants to take that on. And then the other one is I've been debating whether or not we want to kick off a fundraiser for some kind of a green project with the town. One of the things we could do is the town is trying to fund solar panels on the new town center. The building is equipped where if we were to get solar, it would be the first net zero municipal building in the state. So if we were to get money to fund those solar panels, that'd be a very cool milestone and thing for the town to celebrate. But that's a really big that's a big one money-wise. So I'm not sure if we want to do that. I know that's Rick, our new mayor's main, he's very passionate about it. So I'm sure he'd be really supportive of that, but that could be a lot of work. So that's something that we should talk about. Another one is if we wanted to fund a community garden in a school, or maybe investigate if we want to fund a bike path or something like that. But I haven't gone too far down this rabbit hole of figuring that out. So that is another maybe subcommittee type thing. for us to talk about. So that's Friday. Then Saturday for the vendor fair, I have been in touch with and have confirmed, assuming COVID doesn't screw all this up, the library, Cal Water, Green Waste Recovery, Peninsula Clean Energy, and San Mateo County has a as fresh as it gets food program where they're helping promote San Mateo County based agriculture. So all the farms that are on the coast that have farm stands or farmers markets or U-Pick events, they have all that information in one consolidated place. So they potentially are going to come to a table. So Atherton Library is planning to bring, they have a virtual reality experience that shows the impact of climate change that they're going to bring. They also have a kids craft kits that they're going to bring. They also they're figuring out whether or not they can bring their 3D printers. So there's been a lot of people who use 3D printing to repair their stuff instead of buying new stuff. So there's kind of a zero waste component to 3D printing on that. And then they might have some other things that they can bring. So they'd essentially be like our whole kid area. Then Cal Water said they could come. They have a ton of like free stuff that they can give out. And then they also have some kind of a activity to educate people about maintaining their sprinklers. I think it's like plugging leaks or something fun like that for kids. And then they also have like free sprinkler heads and all kinds of stuff that they hand out. Then Green Waste Recovery is going to probably bring a garbage truck for kids to take photos in front of and look at. They also have a carnival game to help educate people about what goes in what bin. I think it's like a throwing thing. And then they also have a spin the wheel thing that has various pieces of trash on it. And if you guess what bin it goes in correctly, you get a prize. So lots of free stuff from them as well. And then Peninsula Clean Energy potentially can come, and they would also be coming and doing some education about all of their rebate programs that they have, and I think promoting solar and home energy battery storage. So other things I thought we could include at the vendor fair that I haven't done any outreach for yet is to have some kind of a gardening component. So that could either be the Atherton Garden Club that exists. I am told. There's also the UC Master Gardening Program. And I know our old member Patty she's an official UC Master Gardener. So I reached out to her to see if she knows of anybody that would maybe want to do a table at Earth Day, because I think it'd be a great time to teach people, it's the spring. So about native plants, low water plants, what works in our zone, if you want to grow your own vegetable garden, that kind of stuff. Other thing is if we want to include the Bike and Pedestrian Committee, if they have something that they want to put out there to encourage people to walk and ride bikes instead of driving, then these are questions for George. So Peninsula Clean Energy, I asked them if they could bring examples of what variety of solar rooftops or home batteries look like to the park. And they said that all of that is done by their partner, Sunrun, which is the official partner of Peninsula Clean Energy. And I know we're not allowed to support private businesses, but they are our partner of Peninsula Clean Energy. So it's kind of like—
Since the town is a member of Peninsula Clean Energy and Sunrun is PCE's vendor, that's fine. That's a valid connection.
Okay, cool. So I think we should reach out to them because I'm sure they'll have a lot of cool displays to come sell their services. Similarly, Cal Water has a lot of landscapers that they've partnered with who can do that. They send business to. If you go through the Cal Water lawn replacement program, they have specific vendors or landscapers that they partner with. So I was hoping to get someone to bring sod to our park, because I personally would love to see what low water lawn looks like, and I would like to touch it, and I've never seen that anywhere. So they had said they could put me in touch with some landscapers who could do that, but again, I'm not sure if that's promoting a private business, if that's allowed, but they're official Cal Water landscapers. It's the same. Okay, cool.
It's a little bit different, but But if it's sponsored by Cal Water is the one that are actually providing the vendor booth. It's not the town providing the vendor booth. It's sponsored by Cal Water. So that's
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then I'm assuming this one's not allowed, but I would love to have e-bikes there for people to try. But I'm guessing unless we go buy them and rent them for people to try, I can't like get a store or someone to.
Actually, a couple Earth days ago, we actually had Tesla come out and provide Teslas for people to drive around the parking lot. I think that would be a similar sort of experience. You're not telling them to purchase the e-bike from Joe's Bikes. You're just saying these are varieties of e-bikes that you could purchase.
Okay. So maybe I will reach out to some bike shops, see if they want to do a pop-up. Other thing we could include is there are all these fix-it clinics that happen around San Mateo County that they could just come and teach you how to fix your own stuff. I've not reached out to them, but they're free. Then just in general, for all things Earth Day, I have not allocated any money. We have a $5,000 budget. So something that we should talk about as a group is how we want to spend the money. So we could spend money towards zhuzhing up the vendor fair, doing like a bounce house or a petting zoo or a potting station or food trucks and live music, like really make it an experience that's more funded by Atherton. Or we can save that money and use it towards a speaker event or somewhere else. So something to keep in mind as I'm walking through the overarching plan. So, but that's the vendor fair. That would happen on Saturday, April 23rd. We also have to decide on the hours. I don't know when the normal historic hours have been for Earth Day, but I'm guessing it'll be like 11 to 3 or 10 to 2 or something similar to that during the day. So that's the vendor fair. Then programming on Saturday. So I've already talked about the sustainable kitchen thing that I'm trying to pull together. But we do have the house rented for all day Saturday. So we could do other programming if we wanted. I know Anthony had emailed you, Greg, about if you had some resources that you could tap into as a Stanford guy, that you might have some cool academics that we can tap into, or if anybody has any ideas around that, let me know. But we have the space available. So nope. Yeah.
I just have a question, Stacy, sorry. The sustainable kitchen in the main house, that's a gas stove?
No.
Gas cooktop, or?
It'd be an induction cooktop that's just electric.
So they would bring something in?
Potentially.
Okay. We need to make sure, I don't know how those operate, but when I put my induction in at home, it required a lot of
venting,
electricity. It was like I was at 220 versus a 110. So we need to make sure that it doesn't blow the whole old building's fuses.
Yeah, I know there are like individual ones that are like can be plugged into the wall.
Yeah, just the standard hot plate, basically.
So yeah, it all kind of depends. Like if we get a speaker, probably they're not, like if I get a famous person to come talk, I doubt they're going to cook at the same time. So it'd be more them be like, yay, induction cooking. I am Alice Waters and I'm telling you that induction cooking is good and I'm a culinary genius and you can trust me, kind of a thing. Or if we get kind of, if we're not spending all of our money on paying someone to come talk to us, maybe we would, there are a bunch of different nonprofits that have induction cooktops that you can plug into the wall that maybe we could partner with, where they could bring, a bunch of induction cooktops, and we can have like a cooking class where people can come test it out and make pancakes or something like that. But those would all plug in, and potentially because they just plug in, we could still have it outdoors with COVID and stuff. And that would save a lot of our ventilation problems with indoor cooking. So
it could. The park has limited outdoor plugs, and I certainly don't want to bring a generator in order to operate these outdoors. So we have to plan that out. But yes,
I'm hoping we just get a speaker. I would love for people to come and be able to try induction cooking, but I think logistically that gets really complicated with doing like a full cooking class. But maybe that's the route we go. But it's also possible we scrap this whole thing because we might want to spend our money somewhere else. And it might be that I'm trying to plan too many things. So we'd love everyone's feedback. So then the other thing is if we want to do an evening movie night. I know past Earth Day events have had documentary screenings, movie screenings of various kinds. So we could either go like a family-friendly movie route and do something like Fern Gully or Lorax, something like an animated something, or we could do a documentary. I have no idea if this is allowed, but the Netflix has a new movie called Don't Look Up, which is it's a comedy where it's like a big commentary. Does anyone else know about this movie? So
yeah, I like it. I feel like it might be too politically, it's got sort of political undertones, which climate change is totally political, don't get me wrong, but we may be better off doing, either straight up documentary or something animated like the Lorax. I don't know.
Yeah.
And you would still need rights to be able to do that, but and it does have that nude scene at the end. So
I think I slept through that part.
Can you tell I haven't seen it yet?
I liked it. It's very good.
No.
This is so great, Stacy. Anyway, I'll let you finish, and then I have a couple of thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. So that's Saturday. Then Sunday, service event, clean up the park. I talked to Green Waste. They're happy to provide bins. And then they also, George, they do like an annual e-waste shredding event that they said they do around that same time. And initially we talked about them doing it on Saturday, but Anthony said there's not enough room for them to do it in the park. But I'm wondering if maybe we want to have it coincide with the service event. It doesn't have to, but
and they do have the annual event. It's usually around the Earth Day timeframe. They get hit up quite a bit to have those events on Earth Day, so they try not to do that. But it will be around that same time. You just have to coordinate.
So I'm not that passionate about it. It's more, do we want to take event if we're going to be doing all this marketing for this weekend? If you want to toss this thing into it, seems like makes everyone's lives easier, but I don't care. But they did say they put it on their calendar to provide bins for our service event. So yeah, which I still need to get all those details with. Anthony put me in touch with Robert at Public Works, and then because I initially wanted to do a street cleanup, and he had suggested doing the park, and now I need to connect with Sally to get that fully figured out. So that's it, guys. Oh wait, for the events, and then we can talk about the Earth Day issue of the Athertonian. Do you guys want to pause and talk about the event before we go into the magazine?
I just have a couple quick thoughts. First of all, thank you so much for all these ideas and the groundwork and the legwork you've already put in. One question is really for George in terms of turnout based on past events, assuming we're emerging from COVID. Do you think we're going to struggle to get attendance over a 3-day period? Or are we better off trying to consolidate everything on Saturday and just having that be the day? And then 2, do we think, is the vendor fair worth it, or should we kind of focus our energy on, hosting a speaker in a film, or, it does seem like a lot of stuff, and maybe if it's all on the same day, it'll work great because people will just mill around and sort of do various things there. Or do we think that we should kind of narrow it down? I don't know.
Vendor fair thus far costs us $0.
Yeah, okay. So
it's just, we need to, someone has to coordinate the logistics of all the partners.
So who actually decides what we do? Is that the town council? Or
that's us right now. Wait, hold on, I have to go get my computer charger. I'll be back.
So the EPC puts together a program of events, whether it's over days or a single day or whatever, with the details, and then the proposed budget for the event. And that in its entirety gets approved by the city council and or modified by the city council. They have in years past wanted to see options if there's going to be a movie, because they want to pre-screen it just to make sure they feel it's okay. And then they vote on the movie. They've also modified the budget up and down. And then they've also in some years past said, you know, I don't think we're going to do an Earth Day this year. Let's just focus on what we want to focus on elsewhere. So they can do any of those things.
Yeah.
With respect to attendance, a good question. Attendance at town events have been all over the map in the middle of COVID. The National Night Out back in October of 2021 was fairly well attended despite COVID. The ribbon cutting for the town building, we had over 100 people come through that particular day. Short amount of time, but indoors and outdoors. So it was pretty well attended for an event like that. But like I said, it varies. So my 2 cents would be the weekend things are great. Expect different sets of people on each day. Some people really like the service day kind of stuff and they'll show up for that, but they won't come to the vendor fair. And then other people will come to the vendor fair, hey, if there's food. So if you're doing it from 11 to 2 and you got food trucks, they're there. If you do it from 1 to 3 and it's just some tables and chairs and people talking, you might not get them.
Would we be able to, in my mind, just some like, if I were planning this and running it, I wanted it more spread out because I am but one person, but we could put the service event on Saturday, right? Or is that, and do the service event in parallel with the vendor fair?
Or like have it, you know, maybe the vendor fair is like 10 to 3 and then the cleanup is 4 to 6 or something.
Yeah, or yeah.
And then
or flip it where people work in the park and then there's like a food truck shows up with a vendor fair.
Yeah.
After.
Yeah. Just a thought. I don't know. You may be able to get people there every day. I just don't know. Yeah. Also, I hate to tell you this, but that is my kid's spring break and I'm going to try very hard to be here, but I am not entirely certain I can because I promised to take my son to look at the colleges he got into because he hasn't gotten to visit him yet because of COVID.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So
for some reason I'm not here. I'll work on the marketing and all the stuff in advance too. So.
And the other thing, we don't have to choose this weekend. So I don't know when all the spring breaks are. So we could move it if we wanted to. We have the park reserved right now, but we could do a different weekend.
Okay. I mean, it is that is the week after Easter. So Easter's the Sunday before. And so a lot of schools have that week, but not all, it varies. Some of the schools don't have that week.
Okay. So then I know for the service event, I was going to reach out to the high schools because I am told there's a service requirement for graduation. So it seemed like that's a good way to get bodies to come out.
Yeah, I know in Belmont, when we have publicized these kind of cleanups, yes, you get high school students looking to check off a box. You also get a lot of families. I mean, that service day could be your biggest turnout if we really publicize that. One other thought, Stacy, have you thought about weaving in maybe a compost giveaway? You all know that the state, starting this year, has some really, really tough compost requirements. And basically cities have to give away lots and lots of compost and get it spread throughout the community. I know we're planning on an annual compost giveaway. Have you thought about making it that day?
I think that's part of the green waste, e-waste recycling super event.
Yes.
Yeah. So that potentially would be part of Saturday, the Sunday.
And even if it doesn't end up being on the same day or weekend, green waste can leave and refill a 3 cubic yard bin filled with compost so that it's around for the Earth Day event, even if their event is not that same weekend.
I do think it's nice that it's around Earth Day. I mean,
yeah,
just because Earth Day's been around so long, I think people do associate.
Yeah, and Anthony did reach out to Menlo Park, East Palo Alto, and Redwood City, and none of them were planning anything as far as he heard then for Earth Day. So potentially we would have the monopoly on regional Earth Day events, if that helps in terms of attendance.
Well, and I guess we also need to talk about EPC bandwidth. I mean, we're a member down right now, and this is a lot of work planning. So I think we also have to sort of, bite off what we can chew.
Yeah.
And figure out what that is.
Yes, agreed. I mean, the vendor fair, I've already done a lot of the legwork on that because we already have kind of our big tentpole vendors participating. So I think it's really just if we want to allocate money towards zhuzhing up the vendor fair and then probably abandoning doing like a big induction cooking or speaker, like fancy high profile speaker event. I feel like it's like one or the other in terms of money and also in terms of bandwidth.
Is it helpful to, like, if we wanted to do a movie, make it a family-friendly movie that could run? Can you see those during the day if they're outdoors? I'm just thinking that might be a nice thing for parents with kids to kind of bring their younger kids to while they're sort of browsing and looking around at stuff. I don't know.
We didn't show it, but until later when it gets darker. But in April, it still gets dark pretty early. I think it starts getting dark at like 6:30.
We've had movie nights in the park, and it usually needs to be 7:30, 8 o'clock time frame before it's a good viewing. But that's been over the summer months, so we're still early, as Stacy notes. You'd still be able to do it on those little blow up, movie screens. And our attendance at those events in Atherton has been rather dismal.
Right.
We probably got somewhere between 10 to 20 people at the most.
Does it make sense to have like a movie being screened when the library tours are happening, just in one of the conference rooms or something? Isn't that what's happening Friday? Can you flash back to the Friday event?
Yeah, so Friday is going to be the green tours of City Hall and the library.
Okay. Yeah.
But then, so George, do you know when the spring grand opening event will be?
We don't have a date yet because things are still in flux with construction, sadly.
Yeah.
But it's TBD toward the end of April. So it's right around the Earth Day.
Yeah. So so if I were to cull, I would get rid of Friday completely because I think that's going to be a part of the grand opening. So unless we're teaming up with the grand opening and having like, an Atherton mega weekend,
right,
it doesn't make sense to me because that'll have just been made available. And I'm assuming the green features will be a big part of the grand opening. Right, George? Probably?
Yes, they will, as long as they're operational. and we know what they are.
Yeah. So my vote would be potentially drop the tours. And then maybe we consolidate the service event to happen on Saturday with the vendor fair.
I like that idea because then you can cross-pollinate the events with people who
yeah. So we just need to of course my son's waking up right now. So we just need to kind of divide and conquer, divvy up responsibilities for organizing those, and same thing with the speaker, if we want to do a speaker component, which we could abandon that part too and just do the vendor fair and like spend money to make that really good, like get a food truck, get live music, can get like a bounce house or a petting zoo. Like we could do, spend money to make it really good if we wanted for the vendor fair.
Do we have money for a food truck, or would the food truck show up and then people would pay? Or
people would pay usually with food trucks. There's like a guarantee where we would have to be prepared to cover the difference if nobody buys anything. And they would promise they'd make $1,000 or whatever.
Stacy, this is Greg. I have a couple of suggestions if you run into trouble with the speakers that you mentioned. I don't know if they would come, but there's one gentleman, a professor at Stanford called Chris Field, and he's head of the Woods Institute at Stanford. he's a very good speaker and he's incredibly generous with his time. You might try him, Chris Field.
Chris Field.
And that's one name, if you don't find somebody else. And then the other one that I might actually enjoy coming, but you would have to ask him way ahead of time, is Josh Becker. He's the senator in our area in Sacramento. And he's been, I know him, and he's been extremely generous with his time, and he's very environmentally involved. So that could be another option if you can't get one of the speakers that you mentioned.
That's a good idea. I know Josh. I could ask him if you
want
to go that route.
Yeah, Josh is, as I say, he's very generous with his time. But you probably, maybe on that day he has multiple commitments. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, so, and he would be free because we can't pay him. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So George, when is if we sort of culled some elements and decided to make this a Saturday, the 23rd Earth Day event, and we put together a basic kind of agenda, does that then go to the council? I mean, at what point do we know that it's?
Yeah, so then I would present it to the February council meeting.
Okay. The February 16th one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So potentially it's going to be the Stacey Emily show at council.
Okay. We can do that.
Yeah, because they have to approve our budget. So I think the point of this meeting is that we have to come up with a rough outline that we feel comfortable presenting to council. And a lot of it obviously is not going to be completely fleshed out.
So if we went with, AM service, lunch truck, vendor fair, and you're saying the vendor fair is sort of already put together.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just what we want to add to it beyond our partner vendors. So, doing the outreach to Sun Run and gardening companies and e-bikes and stuff like that and then figure out if we want to spend money on like more fun parts of the vendor fair. So it sounds like if only 10 people show up to these movie screenings, then I feel like it's not worth our time.
Agreed.
So to me, then it's just the vendor fair service event. If we can do a parallel speaker events happening also at the park on Saturday. So then all of our money could go towards the vendor or, making the festival experience more fun, like with a food truck and stuff like that.
I like that. And maybe you can, we bookend it. So it's like, I don't know, 10 to 2. Is that too short?
I don't think so. I wouldn't want it to linger for too long.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it's kind of manageable. People know when they have to turn up.
Yeah. I like that. And then George, the service event, would that cost any money? Like, would we have to be providing, like getting?
It depends on what you're planning on doing. In the park, we do have maintenance budget for certain types of activities, litter collection and weed abatement and other things that we might need gardening equipment and tools and resources for, mulch and other things. So we have that in our budget. So, but if you're doing anything special, like that's not part of the town's regular maintenance in the park, such as, building a new rose garden or something like that, or planting a tree that you've got to purchase, that is the only place you'd spend money.
Okay. So maybe EPC would be like, and we will provide a coffee cart and a hot chocolate stand in the morning for everyone who shows up for the service event. And then and then all the rest of the money will go towards the vendor fair.
Donuts and coffee for the people that show up, that sort of thing.
Is there any litter in the park?
We're very efficient, but yes, there is, and it depends on the day of the week that you get there.
Yeah, I don't know who told me that, like, we need to pull up a lot of ivy in the park. There's some kind of like weeding.
There's rough areas around the rail corridor And then around the back end of the park as it goes along Felton Gables, those are not as routinely maintained.
But so somebody from the town helps us figure out what needs doing.
Yeah, what the priorities are, and they'll help you do that.
I feel like, I mean, my goal would be that like, we're just getting people there and someone else is running it for the service event, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
Good. So we would mostly then just be responsible for the marketing and the vendor fair and maybe speakers for the in-person component. Okay.
That seems reasonable. And we can, you know, Josh has been very cutting edge in terms of what he's proposing for, you know, helping us be a more climate friendly state. So it might be really interesting to hear from him.
So that'll be right when they're almost done with the budget, right? Or
yeah, he might have some good. I'd be happy to check in with him, but I think we should decide whether we want to go that route or if we're going to try to get a scientist, which is also a really awesome idea. So,
well, this guy Chris Field is a scientist,
right?
We could do. We could do. I mean, we could do multiple speaker events. If we're running the vendor fair from 10 to 2, we could do an 11 o'clock and a 1 o'clock separate speaker events.
Oh yeah, I guess I was kind of thinking service 10 to 12, but I guess, you know, I don't know how long these people want to staff their booths for or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's totally up to us. They all were just like, tell us the hours and we'll be there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. And we as EPC wouldn't have to staff any of those booths. They would be handling all of that. So I think in terms of our bandwidth, because then George, you guys would be helping us with like mapping out the park and helping, you know, people know where to go.
Yeah, that's part of your budget, and Public Works would provide the staff time and resources to assist. But there is a cost with MCE, the town's public works vendor. It's not significant, and the council could look at that and say, "Hey, that's going to be our part of it," and then your budget's X. You know, so that could be part of your request to the city council, is that the town funds separately out of your budget, not connected to your budget. Those things. For this, I was just thinking as you were talking about the service part. If you're doing service in the morning at the park, you know, maybe like 8 to 10 o'clock. Or something like that, and you provide the donuts and the coffee, and then there's a break, because some of those service folks, depending on what service activities they're doing, may not want to just trek from being sweaty and gloved and dirty and weeds into your event, your lunch trucks, your vendor fair, and things like that. They may want a break to go home and change and come back. Of course, you run the risk of losing them, but
yeah, I feel like they should go right up against each other, because if someone wants to leave and come back, they can still do that. It'll still be open versus
true. That's true.
Leave. I wouldn't come back.
Right. You do run that risk. Yeah.
George, 8 is an ungodly hour to start something on a Saturday. Come on.
All right.
Yeah, so maybe if we did the service event from like, it's only gonna be a couple hours, right? If it's just morning, so like from 10 to 12, and then start the vendor fair at noon.
I think so. And then you've got,
like
or even 9 to 11 or something, and then have the truck roll in.
Yeah. Okay. So if we do service event from 9 to 11, and then the vendor fair starts at 11, and the food truck and live music or whatever we have is there the whole time. And the vendor fair is only 4 hours. So it'd be 11 to 3.
No, I do 11 to 2, don't you think?
11 to 2.
This is like a kid's birthday party. You don't ever want to have it too long.
That's fine with me. So George, how long was like the national night out? When
2 hours.
2 hours. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so let's do from 11 to 2. Yeah. And we'll have food, the vendors, maybe a speaker, and because we could do the speaker indoors, or we could just set up EV outside.
I mean, I think with COVID, as long as it's a nice day, you may as well just plan everything outside. Okay.
Because this will all go, George, correct me if I'm wrong, it'll go in the big lawn area of Holbrook Palmer Park where the fountain is. It'll like ring there's like that cement walkway that goes around it.
Yeah, usually that's one location for it. It's also been in the event garden area outside of the pavilion, between the pavilion and the main house. I don't know what you and Anthony have talked about in terms of reservation space at the park on which particular days, but the Little League Stadium lends itself to a speaker. You've got people in the bench seating in the seats, and then the speakers down below at home plate area or in front of the fencing anyway. So you could do that as well.
Okay. It's going to be
baseball. I don't know what's been reserved.
I didn't reserve the baseball field. I know he reserved that little event house thing, the conference area. And then I think the whole park, like, I don't know, Francesca, he emailed, it's just like the whole park.
Okay. And then you got a variety of spaces you can do things in.
Yeah. So I think, because I would like, spread out. I wouldn't want to do it in the area outside of that house, because that would be a little bit more compact. I'd rather have this a little more spread out with COVID and everything. So I'm thinking in front of the fountain, that lawn area in front of the fountain, maybe we ring it.
Yeah, that's where National Night Out is usually held.
Yeah, because then then the food truck will need to be, and the garbage truck, they'll need to park places. Yeah,
there's a ring around that space that you're talking about that vehicles can pull in, the turn pockets there.
Okay. Yeah, and that way, and then the lawn area, people could put out their little picnic blankets and enjoy their lunch. And then I feel like I would rather have the speaker close to all of that, because I just think spreading it out too far, I just assume everyone's an idiot when I do event planning. So everything should be in one place.
Put the speaker by the food.
Yeah. That'd be my vote. Just stick them in the middle of the lawn, surrounded by the vendor tents. Yeah,
I agree with that.
Okay.
Because it'd be sad if no one went to go listen to the speaker.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Cool. So it sounds like we'll spend all of our money on the event, the vendor fair. And so we'll definitely do a food truck, and then we'll just see what money is left for there. I feel like that's where a subcommittee comes in of the vendor fair. And we just let people make decisions on that outside of this meeting, right? George,
and then the council might have.
Yeah, how much detail does the council need it for? We're going to spend money. We're not sure yet. There might be a bounce house. There might not. Are they going
you can allocate it to the particular category of activity. So on the vendor fair, we're going to anticipate spending about $1,500. On the food truck and reservation, another $1,500. On the newsletter, we've got donations to cover this bit, but there might be $500 we'll need to contribute to that. So advertising and as a line item within the budget. Broad categories, but they'll need to know what your plan is, sort of a plan narrative beyond that.
Okay. 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 I think we have enough of a plan for that.
Cool.
Okay. So that's Earth Day, the in-person event. Then the other part is the Athertonian. So you guys ready for the next half of the deck?
Sure.
Okay. So the Athertonians, we're going to do a special issue of the Athertonian. When I checked with Anthony, he said the average cost of printing and mailing the Athertonian is between $1,500 and $2,500. I have gotten verbal confirmations of donations from Green Waste, Cal Water, and Peninsula Clean Energy for a total of $2,000. So this will hopefully cost us $0, leaving the rest of our $5,000 budget to entirely go towards our event. And I like having this in case COVID gets horrible and we want to cancel the outdoor event, then at least we have something that we're sending out to our community. So I've been working with Jen and Diana on this. Neither of them are on the call. Jen was the subcommittee for.
I think she's on it now.
Oh, she joined?
Yeah.
Hey.
I'm here. It's just my my screen is broken, so I'm on my phone listening in my ear. So yeah.
Perfect.
I like your Mardi Gras mask.
No, I do too. Cool. So yeah, so what I've done is divide it into kind of 5 overarching sections of what I think the Earth Day issue will be. And then as I've been reaching out to different partners for Earth Day, event participation, I also was asking them for help in joining the Earth Day special issue. So the 5 overarching sections would be 1, kind of an Atherton state of affairs. Then the second would be electrification and green building. 3rd, water and gardening. 4th, waste reduction and food. And then the 5th would just be like an index of resources and extra resources for residents. So the first section, Atherton State of Affairs, I was hoping, Doug, you could write something like similar to your presentation you gave to us in City Council about how we hit all of our goals for our 2020 climate action plan, and some stats on that, because nobody knows that we did that, and that's something that should be celebrated. Then Rick has volunteered to ghostwrite a feature about the green features of the town center and the library. We'll do a call out to the sustainability website that will be live by then. Diana will do something hopefully about the leaf blower ordinance. And then we could do a call out to some of the upcoming green things happening in the town, which would hopefully be reach codes, which if it goes well, if the February meeting goes well, we would have the first reading in March and the second reading in April. So this would be a well-timed issue where either this is about to be finalized or this is our ability to kind of make a pitch for it. Did my screen share go away?
No.
It kind of went away from me, so now I can't see it. That's fine. Sorry, I got a call and it all disappeared. You guys can still see my screen?
Yes.
That's happened to me before, Stacy. I think you have to go back into Zoom.
Okay, I'm in Zoom. It's just not showing up. I can only see you guys. So what if
I mean, you may have to log out and log back in. I don't know why.
Stop share. I'm gonna just start it again.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it like completely went away. Hold up. Sorry guys.
So while you're looking at that, you did have a note on there about the fundraiser.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring that up as well. That may have some legal logistics we need to navigate through. In particular, printed publications have a mailing rule, and we need to be careful how we do that with respect to town funds, privately fundraising, that sort of thing.
Okay.
We need to flesh that out a little more is basically what I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah, I know when I talked to Rick about it, he was very into having it be about the solar panels and seemed to think our new council member, Bob, would have some ideas around that. But as like finance guy, but he hasn't connected me with him, so I don't know.
Yeah.
And like truly not, I don't think that's a must-have for all of our Earth Day stuff. It just seemed like an opportunity if there was something easy for us to fund or to get people excited about. Okay, my shared screen is back on my screen. You can see it all, right?
Yes.
Cool. So then also in the Atherton State of Affairs, we would have a call out to promote all of our events that we're doing for Earth Day. So the goal is to have this hit people's mailboxes in early April. So we need to finalize the issue at the end of March, which means we need all of the submissions like the 3rd week of March is what Anthony and I had talked about. So yeah, so then the other thing we potentially could include in the Atherton State of Affairs is Diana suggested doing a report about the sea level rise and how it would impact Atherton. There was a grand jury report that was recently presented at a city council meeting, I guess. I don't know much about it, but so potentially someone would need to volunteer to take on writing that for the Atherton State of Affairs. So, and then there's also, I guess we're getting EV chargers in the park in the town center, but I don't know what that timeline is, if we have one yet.
The EV chargers should be here at the town center in the park. I believe we are going through the next cycle of BACMID grants to help pay for those. So they're down the line, but the ones here at Town Center should be in.
Okay. So we'll know, so we'll have a date maybe for the park ones that we could share.
Fiscal year.
Okay. Okay, cool. So that's the Atherton State of Affairs section of the magazine. Then home electrification. Peninsula Clean Energy CEO Jan has confirmed that she can write a little op-ed about Peninsula Clean Energy's ability to handle the increased load of home electrification and something about grid resiliency. She had done an op-ed in the Almanac for Menlo last month that I thought was really effective. So I asked if she could do something similar for Atherton. She said she could. Home Intel by Home Energy Analytics is a free service for all Atherton residents, and I pinged them to see if they could give us 5 seasonal tips for home efficiency that are like helpful and not like buy LEDs. We all know that, like, let's get more weird. So they're going to send me those, and we'll include like a little blurb about the fact that it's a free service for all residents. Then I was going to do a little article about home electrification and our REACH codes and why it's so important. And then all this is, I'm open to ideas, of course, for all this, but this is kind of what we have fleshed out so far. Then in water and gardening, Cal Water has told us that they will send us any data that we want. So I had asked them for some info on, I think it would be good to have info about where we are in terms of drought by then. Some data about how Atherton is one of the highest water guzzling towns in the Bay Area. And maybe they'll provide some seasonal tips. And I think Jen was going to write something about her experience using Cal Water's sprinkler upgrade program, which is a free service for all Atherton residents. And then I had pinged Patty to see if she could do any kind of gardening tips for the Athertonian. And she said she could, but then has fallen off the map. So I don't know. And then I was also hoping to feature, because we need pictures for this, or else it's going to be like the most boring word heavy magazine ever. An Atherton yard that's that has a lot of drought friendly garden, something that doesn't use a lot of water. So I don't know anybody that has such a yard. So if any of you guys know one, that'd be great. I know Diana was gonna do some outreach on that to potentially find someone that we could, profile their garden, do kind of like a human interest with pictures of what a beautiful garden can look like and also not use a lot of water. Then waste reduction and food. Green Waste Recovery has offered to give us any data that we want. I had asked them, because they've been our garbage provider for just over a year now, that if they could provide some data on the amount of trash that they have diverted from landfills for us since they've taken over, and also maybe some stats about the greenhouse gas reductions they've done for us since they've taken over. I like data. I like stats personally. So then I also thought we'd do like a more in-depth bin explainer. I know there's a lot of confusion about the fact that California has passed the food composting laws that we all need to be composting our food, but our new waste provider doesn't let us put that in the green bin. So I know we just stick it all in the black bin now. And I know there's been some confusion on that. So I thought we would do a little explainer. And then I also asked Green Waste if they could tell us what their 5 hardest to recycle items are and how we can replace them. Because everything you read is like, check with your waste provider if they can handle to-go coffee cups and all that kind of stuff. So I asked them to give us some really specific info, like they're like, please do not use cling wrap or whatever. So they're going to give us that. Potentially we could do a feature on the library. I asked, it's Mika over, that's not right. I don't remember her name. Our librarian.
Mika.
Yeah, okay. If she could potentially contribute something about 3D printing, and she said she was going to do more research on it. So I'm not sure if she'll do that. And then I've also talked to the San Mateo County As Fresh as It Gets program, and they said they could basically provide us anything we want to promote local food providers. So it's kind of up to us if we want like a calendar of you pick events that families can go and pick their own berries over the summer. Or if we wanted to do a map of a coastline where it's like, hey, here's like a fun road trip that you could do where you could go buy 5 different food stands and have like a super fun day buying food from local providers, something like that. They said they can basically make anything we want. And they'll including if we wanted a map, they'll do the graphics for us. So they're down to do whatever we want on that front. Then the last section would just be resources for Atherton residents, which I think we'd already created that rebate page for the website. So just kind of consolidate it with our URL so that people could get more details there, because there's so many rebate programs and free stuff available to Atherton residents, but nobody knows about it. So I thought we'd put it all in one place. And then Diana had suggested we do something with Adapt for the resource section. I guess we need more volunteers. Seems like Adapt is in every different issue of the Athertonian. So I'm kind of like, whatever, man, you guys already get a lot of playing time, but if we could do something Earth Day specific, potentially we can reach out to them to provide some content for that. So that's the scoop. It's just a lot of work for us to consolidate, but I tried really hard to outsource the content creation. So there's not actually that much that we have to write. It's more that we have to edit and consolidate it and make it pretty to send out to everybody. And it's not going to cost us anything, hopefully, except maybe like $500. So it won't take a huge amount of our budget. So
incredible work, Stacy. It's you've done so much work. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been fun bugging everybody. So does anybody want to write something? Got an idea? Hate something?
I'm happy. You can give me something to write that you don't have anyone to write, any section. I'm happy to do that or edit or whatever you need help with.
I wonder who we can reach out for pictures. I think you're right. That it would be so great if we had some pictures of someone doing something with their lawn. How do we post for that and ask people if you're doing something?
What about on Nextdoor or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is Atherton able to post on Nextdoor, or would we post as Nextdoor?
Atherton's able to do that through Francesca or Anthony.
Okay, so maybe you guys could post asking for submissions.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a green garden, a low water native plant garden?
You want to show it off?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. I feel like a lot of this is really good info, but it could be really boring, and there's also not a lot of pictures tied to it. So I know Diana had looped in her friend Maureen, who is a science and environmental writer. So she has volunteered to write whatever we want, which is so great. But she had pointed out that we probably need some more like human interest content in here, or else people are gonna like flip through it and be bored. So that's where the garden component came in there, but I'm not sure, because we're not allowed to promote private businesses. Like we can't be like, hey, this person has a nonprofit and talk about it. I don't think, but maybe we could.
I don't know. Nonprofits are probably okay. Are they, George, or no?
Nonprofits are okay for what?
Just to write about or talk about.
Like if an Atherton resident's doing a very cool nonprofit, like could we profile that?
Should be able to. Yeah, I don't think that would be an issue.
I mean, really, it's like anything these days. People have very short attention spans, so we don't have to have a ton of text, right? I mean, it can be a lot of bullet points or little call out boxes or whatever. Who does the actual technical side of that? Does Anthony?
Francesca usually.
Oh, Francesca does? Okay. So we would just give her the content.
I might want to micromanage that.
You might. Do you sleep, Stacy? I don't know. You seem to be able to get a ton of stuff done. I'm very impressed.
I have very productive nap times with.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's the best way to proceed?
So I think, so if we wanted, we could go through and sign out the articles or cut stuff. Because I think right now, I think the longest issue of the Athertonian was like 16 pages. And I know Peninsula Clean Energy was going to provide, they did it in an Athertonian a year ago, I think, where they did like a couple pages of like outlining their emission, all their clean stuff that they're up to. So I know they're going to do something similar in that. So I think we might need to cut stuff, but I also think we could communicate a lot of this stuff concisely. So if there's anything in here that you guys saw that you don't think is great, that's fine. We can cut it. But I think otherwise we just go through and like make assignments on this and divide and conquer some writing. Or George, should we do I feel like all of us are going to have to be a part of the Athertonian writing. So we shouldn't just do a subcommittee. Or how does that work?
Well, you can't pass around articles and information amongst yourselves via email. That would need to be at a public meeting of the committee. So what can happen if you want other members of the EPC to write something is they write it, they send it to staff. Staff then circulates it to the subcommittee for comments back to staff on the article. We're actually doing that with the city council now on a couple of other items.
Okay. So then we need to have a subcommittee for editing the Athertonian.
Yes, that would be the two that are already working on it, I suspect.
And Jen, do you want to be editor on Athertonians?
Yeah, sure. We can just continue with that. Since I'm submitting my little 2 paragraphs on the water. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then if Emily then submits an article, she submits it to Anthony or Francesca, and then Anthony and Francesca clean it up or anonymize it from being from her, and then send it to the subcommittee for review and consideration and editing.
Okay.
And then the two of you would then work with Anthony and Francesca on layout and images and how you want the actual publication to appear as it moves forward.
So we just have to send, Anthony said he normally sends the printer just a PDF. So we can.
Right. I think she uses Publisher, which I haven't used that in years, but it's not like it's Adobe PageMaker or any of those other, that one doesn't exist anymore either, but there's other ones out there that are bigger, better than Publisher, but I don't think we use anything like that.
Okay, cool. So maybe we could make like a rough one on Google Docs and then work with Francesca.
Right.
Folks, I have to drop off because I have an early pickup at school. So can you follow up with me and let me know exactly what I need to do?
Yeah.
Okay. Stacy, again, you're just incredible. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Stacy.
Yeah,
okay. Bye-bye.
Hi, Stacy, I have an idea. What if Diana's friend who's a science writer writes on sea level rise? That might be something that she might have the technical kind of background to tackle.
We'll make notes in this doc while we're all watching. Okay, so then I'm just gonna assume Diana's gonna do that, but Diana has to ghostwrite. But we are allowed to have bylines, but city council members are not allowed to have bylines.
Okay.
FYI. So Rick is ghostwriting the town center thing because he's not allowed to. Whatever. Okay. So then Doug, can you do the climate action plan part?
Yes.
Great. And then I feel like the rest of this is just bullets. So that could just be me and Jen doing this. These are not articles. The website and the leaf blower ordinance. Can you guys see my cursor now as I'm moving around? Cool. So I feel like all the stuff I have highlighted in blue is more formatting.
Okay.
So we don't have to have an article on that. So then next section would be the home electrification and green building, and that's already assigned out. So that's good, unless you guys want to add something about green buildings, or Doug, you feel like we're missing some key sustainability thing in here. This section's all assigned out, so that's good. Then water and gardening, what we mostly need to do for Cal Water, they said they'll send us anything we want, so we just have to figure out what we want from them. I think Jen had like a great experience doing their sprinkler thing where they like came and replaced her whole sprinkler system for free. So I thought that's something that we could have pictures, and that's a free service through Cal Water, and have her article be about that. And then we could maybe do like a sidebar of like, we're still in a drought, don't be a dick and use all the water. And like,
okay. Well, maybe Jen wouldn't mind doing Cal Water since she's already on Cal Water, and I could do waste reduction and food if no one's on that.
Okay. Yeah, and then we'll all collectively try and hunt a garden, someone to do
George, can you have Francesca submit onto the next door for the for a resident with a low water native plant garden?
Yep. And what so they say yes, say I've got a low water drought tolerant landscape on my property, then what? They just submitting that to us, or are we going to profile them in the newsletter?
Well, just say we may profile you. Then I don't know, maybe Jen or Stacy runs over there to see the garden. Okay. Or does the town have a photographer? I don't know.
We do not.
No. Okay. Well, we all have iPhones, so
show up with my iPhone, just taking photos of random people's yards. Cool. Yeah, and I figured that could just be pictures with like some call outs of what their plants are. And
I mean, I have some of that stuff, but I also have a lawn, so I feel like I'm not a good person to.
Okay. Well, you'll be our backup then.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So that the only one is if Patty doesn't actually provide any gardening stuff, if we want to try and write that, or we could easily drop that. I just think it took me a while to figure out what zone we're in here in Atherton for gardening. So it might be nice to have some kind of info for people for that. But
is there anyone who works at the town who could do that? What about the arborist or
she's more tree stuff. She doesn't do ground cover or that sort of vegetation. She's really focused on trees. She knows probably a little bit about it, but I don't think she's going to get the quality article you're looking for.
Okay.
I can send a note to the like general info email at UC Master Gardeners, because I was going to ping them as a vendor.
They'd be a better resource for that.
So, which is like a free California program. So I'll ping them. I'm gonna have to take all these notes out for the public when we put this on the internet. Or whatever.
There's that big California landscape book, the green book that a lot of folks have in their house when they do the gardening, that explains all of those zones and does have some basic good descriptions of what each zone is if we can't find someone to write an article.
Okay. So I'm gonna just try and outsource this one. I don't think we need to write it. Okay, then waste stuff. Emily, you want to be our garbage gal?
Sure, I'll be your garbage gal.
Okay. Then
I'm gonna take a picture of this though, because I want to see what bullet points you have, and I'm just gonna make sure.
I'll add you to the Google Doc that I have.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so if you want to be the garbage, and I'll connect you, or we can.
Do you have a contact over there you've been dealing with?
Yeah, so I'll just loop you in.
Okay, that would be great.
To that, and then yeah, you guys can work together on making something beautiful and educational.
Okay, I'm interested in waste.
Yeah,
they have a lot of stuff online, so this would also be pretty easy to just add a little QR code in there that people can.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Their phone takes them right to the video on the multi-resource facility and all that stuff.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. And then the last section is just resources, which I think is repurposing a lot of what we did for the website already. Maybe a QR code for our sustainability website goes here. I don't know that we need to include adapt stuff in here, but that is mostly because I see them in every Athertonian issue, and I'm kind of like, whatever.
I would agree with that.
But not, but if we have extra space, maybe we include it. And I think this info about air quality info might be helpful because we'll be entering into wildfire season.
Yeah, wildfire and smoke days for sure. Okay, cool. I think this sounds great. And, you know, I think we'll have a lot of information, but the good news is there's some wiggle room in terms of how big the publication is. So we can make sure that it's edited in a way that's, you know, really readable for people.
Yeah. And maybe we do more pages, but less text on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think given that a lot of our costs are covered for it anyways, if we make it a little bit longer, I don't think it'll cost us.
I think it's gonna be great to have all this in one place.
Yeah. My hope was that like people, like some of these might be like tear out pages where like if we do a map of all the farm stands, that'd be like really fun for people to tear out, or like a page on, you know, how the garbage works that they could, or something like that, like a garden guide. Like, I'm hoping this would be an actual resource for people to learn and use. So I think that covers all of the special issue, but I think what we should do is divide and conquer the vendor fair component.
Yeah, agree.
So going back to the vendor fair, so there's kind of two, there's the service event part, the vendor fair part, and the speaker outreach. And I feel like we could divide and conquer all of those.
Okay.
And then also, I guess since I'm the Earth Day planning subcommittee, I'll be the one that presents to City Council for that.
Okay.
Right.
I know Josh Becker. I'm very happy to reach out to him. If Gregory also wants to reach out to the scientist he knows.
Well, we don't want to have too many people. So let me know if Josh Becker can't do it, let me know, okay? And then I'll reach out to Chris Field.
Tell me what he does again. Did you say he's Woods Hole or?
Chris Field is the head of the Woods Institute at Stanford University.
So what topic would he be speaking on?
Well, he's very versatile. He's
right.
He was on the IPCC, and he can talk about anything you want.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, what is the committee thing? That'd be very interesting.
I mean, we could also do 2 separate speaker events. I mean, we have 3 hours, so none of them are going to be that. We could do 2 within that 3-hour window.
Sure.
I think we should reach out to him. He sounds fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, and the day for his speech would be Saturday or Saturday?
Saturday, April 23rd.
Yeah, yes, okay.
11 and 2.
Okay, I will reach out to him.
Okay, cool.
But meanwhile, you're going to reach out to Josh?
Yes, because I think we can schedule them at different times in the event that they can both come.
Okay, very good, very good.
Okay. I'm just putting notes in here, and then I'll clean it up before you put it on the internet, George. Josh, Becker, Emily, Chris, Fields, Greg. So George, in terms of communicating and executing all of this stuff, so maybe they're a subcommittee on speaker outreach, the 2 of them?
Well, here's my question. How are you, or have we talked about how we're going to market this event in general?
No, I mean, I think that's a whole other.
That is a whole other
subcommittee thing that I think is you and me as professional marketing people.
We need some more members on this committee.
Nobody applied to join us.
Killing it. Okay. Well,
we have, I mean, the town has their traditional outreach, you know, news flashes, Atherton Online on Friday, the regular Athertonian newsletter, as well as Nextdoor and Twitter and Instagram and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
It would be helpful to develop some cohesive marketing imagery and word choices for the event and activities, but you're still going to need to get it all approved by the council first before we even.
Oh, all of that has to get approved. Like
well, the event itself.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's happening in February. We're not going to start marketing this stuff.
No, and we can put it in the almanac.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did reach out to the publisher of Atherton Living, our free magazine, and they have reserved space for us in their April issue to their like calendar, whatever, their March, April issue.
All right, well, it's probably enough for now to figure out if these guys can come and speak for a little while, and then we can circle back, you know, when we know whether or not they can come.
So I think there are like a few subcommittees we could do maybe, or I don't even know if we need subcommittees, but there's the vendor outreach stuff if we want to add, and like spending money component for the vendor fair. You guys are doing the speaker. There's also the service event, which I think is really just coordinating with Public Works and Sally, right? That's not that much work, so I can do that. And then that's it. We already have the Atherton, and then the marketing side of it for Earth Day. So,
well, I'll volunteer to do marketing because I'm not entirely sure I'm going to be there that day, although I'm going to try very hard to be.
Okay, perfect.
So that's something I can do. You know,
and then the vendor outreach. I mean, I'm already doing a lot of it, but would love help if someone wants to join on the vendor outreach side of things.
Do you think Jennifer can join, or Gregory, or we can scale it back? I don't know.
I don't mind as long as there's someone I can like offload it to like handle the logistics of like when they start asking questions about like, do we have power and where do I go exactly? That's when I like offload it to Anthony or Francesca, right?
Right.
Okay. So really I'm like the idea, connecting factor, and then the logistical stuff will be Anthony's problem.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect. He's gonna love it. Cool. So if any of you guys want to join me in these antics, I would love help, but otherwise I'm fine.
And also do remember, till the budget's approved, there's no authorized spending for the event. And then once there is authorized spending, only town staff can technically do that. So if you've got something you need to expend funds for, unless you want to donate it, make sure you connect with Francesca or Anthony, and they'll make sure it gets accomplished.
So they'll do the purchasing.
Yeah.
So I would pick the food truck, but then Anthony would go talk to them.
Yeah,
I would talk to the food truck, and Anthony would like.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Okay, you guys. George, I'm gonna have to stop now. If you want to unmute me.
You're unmuted, so we hear you.
Okay.
All right. Well, that means we don't have a quorum, right?
That is correct.
Okay. So we're gonna have to wrap it up, but I think we at least have enough to get through to February 16th, Stacy.
Yes.
When we have further clarification on.
So maybe we'll just say Emily is, or Jen's my co-captain on vendor outreach, so that I have a human to run ideas by. Unless Emily, you want to be that person?
I just am worried I'm not going to be here that day, but I don't.
Okay, so I'll have it be Jen, and then you and I will connect about marketing.
Okay.
And you and Greg will do a speaker outreach.
Yes.
And so I can put together a recap email of everyone's assignments and send it to George, who will send it to everyone else, so that we're not Brown Act violation, right?
That's fine.
Yeah.
Yes, nailed it. Okay, cool. I think that's it.
Thank you, Stacy. Yeah, and I mean, I just want to say that if any of this feels undoable in terms of, because I realize you've got a lot on your plate right now, then we can, you know, we only have the manpower or the person power that the volunteers can manage. So
yeah, I mean, I think the vendor fair, if we just have what we already have, is still pretty good.
Yeah.
So
great.
Well, a food truck, maybe some music in there. I feel like we're pretty good.
Okay.
So I think, to me, like the star of this whole thing, I mean, I would love for the events to be excellent, but I think to me the star is our special issue of the Athertonian, which I think we've already got a lot of it divided.
Okay. As long as you're feeling okay about it.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe come Earth Day, I'll be like,
I know,
a crazy monster, but this is all kind of in my wheelhouse. Anyway, so
okay, you're a superstar. Okay, well, thank you, Gregory. I know you have to go. So I guess we move to end the meeting. Is that right, George?
That's correct. Your future agenda topics, item number 6, I just put down Earth Day follow-up and reach codes, because those will probably be dominating our conversation of those couple of meetings.
Yes.
So, do we want to do a meeting?
So that's where I was going next, was your next actual meeting date is March 17th, but you may want to call a special meeting sometime in February just to meet as a whole group to talk about where we are and what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
What you can pick, Emily, you and I, or you and Anthony can pick that date as needed.
Okay. We'll do it after the town council meeting, maybe the week after.
Yeah, because we will have lots to report from that.
Yeah, I'll do that, and then I'll let everyone know.
Yeah, there's still a lot of time. So once we have city council approval on like the broad strokes plan, then we could potentially like even further.
Okay.
And get help. And maybe we'll
have very good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, you guys. You did a lot of work.
Gregory, before you drop off, motion to adjourn.
Second. First,
second. Am I allowed to be part of the motion?
Okay. You can. We have limited motion, so there you go.
All right, thanks everyone, especially to Stacy Miles, MVP of the EPC.
Love her. Bye, guys.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.